I'm here. How are you guys?
Yeah,
Hello.
fine.
Hey,
So welcome.
thank you for having me again. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, it seems like you are the master of email marketing
Yeah.
already. You are the third time
Third
here?
time?
I think the second only, no.
Oh,
So
second. Okay. I'm getting old
next
Third.
already.
Third. Third.
Next year.
year.
So what are you going to talk to us about today?
Today I will be talking about something that usually I don't really talk about, but of course through the angle of something I talk about all the time, deliverability.
All right.
So one of the problems I have when I have new clients, the first one is they never come to me to make sure they don't have deliverability problems. They only come to me when the problem is so big they realize it on the business accounting side.
Oh, right.
Second problem we have is the misconceptions. Sometimes people are going to read the amazing blogs that we write and take the wrong take from it. So then they think they're doing the right thing, and without knowing it is affecting their deliverability. And the third thing that happens very often is people like to copy other people. It
Yeah.
makes sense, right? And it makes sense on a lot of sides. On the business side, when it comes to how you communicate, the thing that people need to understand is that the big businesses who have the big money, and sometimes they're the ones starting the trends, have done quite a lot of analysis, right, to make these decisions. And then we're like, this sounds cool, let's do it too. And it might not fit. So
Okay.
today I would like to talk about how double-edged swords are, uh, how trends can be a double-edged sword if you're just copy pasting them. So let me see if I can just present. Ah, magic! Look at that.
Works.
Right on time.
Thank
So in
you.
order, yes. Any questions?
No,
Nope.
no. Later
No.
on. Good luck.
Okay. Because if I start, I don't stop. You guys know that.
We know.
So let's start with it. Email, it's not as simple as it seems. Most businesses on the planet are sending emails. We all send emails to our friends, our family, our coworkers. We kind of understand how it works. You write a message, you have the appropriate recipient, and you send it. And then we ignore everything that happens in between, the things that Smaley is taking care of, the things that spam builders are taking care of. And then we just expect emails to land in the inbox and people to open them and give us quite a lot of money, right? But it doesn't work that way. The part in the middle is extremely important. And it starts with how you communicate and how you send emails and how you make decisions. That's how things are going to go well if you're thinking about it. If you're just copy pasting what other people are doing, it may affect you on the business side, which then ultimately affects you on the deliverability side. And then it creates quite a vicious cycle. So, if you guys have the time to put in the comments, I can read it very quickly. I would like to see how people like to be inspired. Some people I know are designers. They love websites like reallygoodemails.com, like Milled. They sign up to a billion emails, and they get a bunch of emails that they may or may not ignore, just to get inspired, right? To see what the competitors are doing, what people that are maybe in a completely different industry are doing. We just want to see what is happening so that we're not lost in the game, right? The next thing that we really need to start thinking about is not following the trends blindly. Getting inspired is one thing, but it comes with certain risks. Sometimes the comparison between your business and somebody else's business may be completely wrong. There's a lot of ESPs on the planet, right? And there's a reason why different email marketing service providers exist. They cater to specific niches, they cater to maybe specific regions. I may or may not have all that information when all I have is a beautiful email template that I think is really funny or really interesting and really engaging, right? So following the trend blindly is always going to create a problem, and it creates a problem over time. When we're talking very simply put, the vicious cycle works like this. We copy paste something that may or may not work. We send it to everyone. The spam filters may or may not like it, so they may open emails more, they may ignore emails more, they may put emails in the spam folder. And I know most of you are not monitoring your deliverability and your inboxing rates, so you have no idea because a change may be positive or negative. It'll be very small. But now imagine the open rates go up because spam filters have been looking. Why did they change? You think, wow, it worked, right? So you keep doing it again and again and again. And all you end up doing maybe is alienating people. People start, this is not what I signed up for. This is not what I'm expecting from the brand. And then that creates lower engagement. That doesn't look good to the spam filters. You start sending more emails, and it just becomes quite a snowball down the mountain until you have to call Smaley and say, please help me. I don't know what went wrong. Following them blindly is not enough. There needs to be critical thinking. And at the end, I've got quite a checklist. So you guys are going to be good to go. The other thing that people often do is copy paste what other people are doing when it comes to how many emails they're sending. I have heard many, many times, why can Wish send me 30 emails a day that go in the inbox and I can barely send 2 a week? Well, one, there's a whole team of deliverability specialists managing it. And to you, it may look like 30 emails a day, but they're very, very quick on removing, on segmenting, and on sending really targeted emails. The engagements they get is so immense that even though the volume is high and they're quite annoying, it's still going to inbox because they have the infrastructure, the power, the strategies to send the right email with the right product to the right person. Not kind of like Amazon selling me another spatula when I bought one yesterday, right? Some companies have the infrastructure, have the team. Other industries, it's just their business. They are obligated to send emails every day. Spam filters are quite interesting and quite smart. How do you call it? Google spam filters, Microsoft spam filters have spent millions and billions of dollars to make this machine that is more intelligent than all of us combined to make this decision. It makes mistakes, of course, but it knows so much about you and everybody like you, and it's easy for them to compare you to them. And if the comparison in terms of frequency should not be there according to them, they're going to penalize you. So if you are to grow the number of emails sent per person, you need to do it very slowly. You need to do it in a targeted manner. It's not every single customer that should be getting 5 emails a week. New customers, recurring customers. And keep in mind that a good customer may not be a good engaged subscriber. Maybe I love your brand so much, I don't need your emails to go purchase your product or come to your webinars. In other cases, maybe I do. So it's very important to look at the frequency and to look within. It's not because Amazon can annoy you that you can annoy your customers. And also spikes, no one likes it. If you don't like emails in the morning, 150 new emails in the morning, don't go to work and think the best strategy is to send another 1 million emails to your own subscribers. The third thing that happens very often is the content copycat. And this one can affect deliverability, but usually it's like on a long term, people get a little bit disinterested or it's content they're not expecting. And if they signed up to something and they like you and your voice and your product, there's a reason that they're not going to the other person. So why would you go and copy the exact same format? Getting inspired is one thing. Following a trend is another thing. But a direct copy paste, I don't think it's a good idea. And one of the main reasons why I don't think it's a good idea is as much budget time that we have in email, it's never enough. In most businesses, there is one really attentive person that's thinking about email and can't sleep at night. The business is just thinking about money. Let's send more, let's make more money, right? If you're not monitoring things correctly, if you cannot tell me what types of bounces you had yesterday, hard bounces, sure, but which ones? Is it a blog by Microsoft because evidence of spamming? Is it, hey, we're throttling you. You've sent a little bit too many emails. We weren't expecting them. What kind of hard bounces? If you don't know, it's a little bit hard to be making decisions, especially if you're going to copy somebody else's strategy. It also shocks the spam filters. They've been expecting something for so long, or you've been doing something for a couple of months, and then boom, we decide to do a completely different strategy. The tone changes, the templates change, the frequency change, how we email, the automations change. The spam filters have to start looking to reassess, do we still like the sender? Yes or no? And we don't want spam filters to keep looking again and again and again. You don't go to the bank every month to check your credit score if you can get a mortgage. And okay, good, I can get a mortgage. And then you go again and you ask, can I still get the mortgage? Yeah. At some point, it affects the credit. Why are you going to the bank asking for a mortgage and never getting it? It's important. Do not copy paste and monitor. If you're going to do anything, start monitoring your deliverability so that you don't have to come to me when things are not working well. Now, the automation overload, I've seen this happen very often. And the biggest issue with automation might not be necessarily the trend. It's that when we have these automations like birthdays and I don't know, anniversaries and important things that you're going to send specifically to a customer, we tend to forget them. We all remember the examples of getting coupons on your birthday for food and you could not go to the restaurant because it was COVID and lockdown. Those automations were forgotten. And the problem with forgotten automations is that they tend to work well and we don't ever have the time to go and look at them again. Are they still working? Automations may work with the current customers you have. And in a year, maybe 6 months, you have completely different types of subscribers. Those automations may or may not work. Or your abandoned carts have like 20 emails. 1, 2, 3 abandoned carts. Don't send me abandoned carts for like the next 10 years. 1, it ruins the FOMO. 2, I obviously can't purchase it or I don't want to. Make sure that when you are creating your automations, you have an Excel sheet at the very least with a list and a date or a calendar maybe invite to remind you to go check it again. Does it work? And ensure that people are actually engaging with them and it's bringing you value. Or else what you're doing is that you're augmenting your volume. So then instead of sending maybe 1,000 emails, you're now sending 2,000 emails a month and the extra 1,000 are unengaged or just not very performing. So now you look more like an annoying sender who doesn't understand what its own customers want. So make sure you don't go crazy with the automations. We all love the features, right? But be critical. And also, we don't have enough time or budget to be creating these amazing emails. Focus on the 2 best emails that will bring you all of the revenue that comes from email instead of trying to create all these strategies and like, look at what this store is doing and look at what that store is doing. Make sure you're doing what you're supposed to do and that you're monitoring it. Extremely important. So, the importance of context and customization. The most important part of following trends and being inspired is trying to understand why they made that decision and then customizing it so that it works for your business. It's as simple as that. The hard part is being honest with yourself. You see what other businesses doing and you're like, we're just as good as Amazon. We'd have the same kind of business and we want to do the same. You may not have the infrastructure to do it. You may not be able to do the personalization because let's all agree that Amazon doesn't have 10 billion templates. They have a template that then gets created automatically based on who's receiving the email, which is why I'm getting an email to buy another spatula, even though I bought one yesterday. But hey, that email was created just from me. If you're unable to do that, maybe there's certain types of automations, trends, ideas that you may not be able to implement. So then you have to customize them. Make sure that it works well and that it brings you money or whatever you're expecting from email. Because my job is to make sure the emails land in the inbox. Smaily's job is to send out the email. Your job is the strategy that's going to combine both of those to make what you want happen. Money, webinar invitees, anything that you want. So it's extremely important to be honest with yourself because or else you're going to just copy and you're going to be, oh yeah, we're cool and we can do this all and we have the time and the budget and the resources. If you don't, be honest and put the time where it's supposed to go. So you don't waste it and it brings you the money anyways. So I have this amazing checklist. I did not overtalk. That is great. So the checklist of things you can ask yourself and feel free to add some more in the comments. We've got 15. I had an issue with the bullet points. So it goes from 1 to 5 on the 3 slides. Cool. So the first thing is this trend that I'm copying, maybe text, content, automations, timing, anything. Does it resonate with the audience that I'm sending the emails to? It may be cool to me. It may not be that cool to the customer, right? And we need to remember that's a big dissociation that needs to be done. You need to figure out how to send people what you would like them to see that you think is cool. But the customer needs to receive something that is exactly what they want, right? Those two need to be aligned. The next thing is it consistent? And I don't mean consistent on the marketing side. I mean, I assume your brand's voice and how you market and your look should be consistent. On my end, I care about what the spam filters care about. So if your brand is sending emails once a week, and then one day it's Black Friday, and you decide, let's start sending 2 emails every day to everyone on my list, that is not consistent. The spam filters will start looking and say, what is happening here? Content as well is not the end of the world, okay? Adult websites, casinos, they send emails. Cryptocurrency websites send emails. Their emails inbox. It's not the spammy words that is the issue. Not that certain things cannot affect you, but that is not the main issue. Google spent billions of dollars on the spam filters. They are smarter than that. But imagine this example. You're like a high-end brand. You sell $10,000 purses, right? And it's COVID. And you send an email and you're like, oh, I hope everybody's okay. Google is going to receive that email and say, I don't understand. For the last 10 years, you were sending emails selling $10,000 purses. And today you're sending links to local places to help, or this doesn't make sense to me. What does the spam filter think? It's shocked. It will allow some emails in to see what people are doing. If everything's okay, the more you send, the more they will allow in, because then they're like, oh, everything is fine. Consistency can be found in the millions of things you do in email. Make sure it is consistent over time, because from content to frequency, things can really be problematic if they're not consistent. The third one is if there's clarity in the objective. Are you just copying a trend because the colors are cool, or the idea is cool, or maybe it worked on you and you bought the product using that email? But if you're unable to calculate the goal, so if it's like, yeah, we got more open rates, yeah, but did we make more money? And the answer is no, then maybe there's something I need to fix. First, you start with the goal. What is the purpose of this email? If you don't have an answer, I mean, well, you're sending the email for what? Just to send an email and be consistent? Yeah. So make sure that you have a really good goal, and that when you're implementing the trend, you're going to be able to calculate it. And then the next thing is the competitor context, right? Some people ensure that they want to be exactly like somebody else, right? We all copy like the Apple design for a couple of years, and the MacBook, and it's sleek and nice. Do you have the context of this person, of this business, or why they're making these decisions? Or are you copy pasting? Copy pasting again, not a good idea. And then, of course, the innovation versus imitation. There's, of course, a big difference between being a copycat and then being inspired. And we want to be innovators. We don't want people to compare two brands and say, well, I'm going to choose the first one because they're the ones that started the trend. Or I'm going to choose the other one because, I don't know, I like the colors. Those are not going to be long-term customers. Those are like clickbaity kind of style things. We got their attention so that we can get an email, and then we just ruining it over time. Make sure that you're innovating instead of copy pasting. Next question, which is supposed to be number 6, is do you have the necessary resources? Can you sit down and create a million automations? Can you sit down and start re-strategizing again because there's a new trend that has come out in your industry? If you can't, try to see what you can do. What is the MVP version of it? How can you maybe inspire some little parts to be changed in order for the changes to happen? But be honest, can you make it happen, or is it just a waste of time? Like a dark mode. For some businesses, amazing. They got the time, the resources, developers. For others, it may not be the most important thing on the planet, right? Then is the risk assessment. What is it going to affect if I make this change? Is it too much of a change? Will my customers be surprised? Make sure that you've assessed the risks. And then, of course, that you know how to look at the metrics. Open rates on their own is not good enough. Click rates on their own is not good enough. Inboxing rates on their own is not good enough. You need all of it together. The email metrics, the deliverability metrics of your sender reputation, and then your goal metrics, may be a sale or number of attendees at a webinar. The next thing is, how do you collect it? It can be in your brain, in an email, a conversation with a friend, but analyze it. Most of us, we put an email, we look at the open rates, we made a little bit of money, we're like, cool, next email. Why? Sit down, think about it for 5 minutes. It will make such a big change. You have no idea. Make sure that you can get other people and that you're to give you some feedback as well. And make sure that you're listening to your subscribers' feedback instead of being, oh, maybe the subject line was a problem, not the email, right? Make sure that you're honest with yourself. It's extremely important in email. And the next part is, if everything blows up, you can leave the strategy on the side and it did not affect anything. So in certain cases, maybe especially if you're like a big sender, you're lucky enough to be able to maybe segment a trend. So you send to a segment, you test the trend, see everything's okay. And then you're like, okay, maybe we can do it to everybody else. But if it doesn't, it doesn't matter. Put the people back in like nothing ever happened. Make sure you do have an exit strategy. But to have an exit strategy, you need to have performance metrics to make sure that you know things may or may not be going well. And the last 5 things, the most important for me, check your deliverability. There's quite a lot of tools that are free online. Even on our website, on Email Console, we have like a domain, block list monitoring. You can even check your DMARC. You can do an inbox placement test for free. Check. Get some information from the inbox service providers. And the most important one, Google Postmaster. Please, it's called postmaster.google.com. It is literally the Equifax of Google. If you want, Smaley can tell you everything looks okay, but the one I can tell you things are looking okay from your account, right? But between Google and us, we're going to trust Google, what Google says, right? Check your deliverability and monitor it before it's a problem. Also, a lot of people don't know there is a problem in deliverability. Your deliverability problems may be small, 5, 10, 20%. That may not be enough to affect your ROI, to make it obvious. Are you going to wait until it affects 50%? Not the time. And it always happens like when it's the most important time to set an email, the deliverability problem. Please monitor it. Google Postmaster is free. It's more than enough to make sure everything's okay. The next thing is make sure you're legal when you're compliant, and legal. When you're doing these changes, it's not because the company's allowed to do something that you're allowed to do it. You know, some companies send cold emails. Doesn't mean that it's allowed by the spam filters. There's a difference between the legal compliance, your ideas, what businesses are doing, and what a spam filter wants. So we want to make sure we're legal, and then we want to make sure the spam filters are happy. Everybody else doesn't really matter. My opinion, your opinion, how annoying or difficult it is, doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, the machine says accepted or rejected. So you decide if you want them to accept it or not. Then is a cultural sensitivity in the email, not necessarily like a country base or anything like that. It can also be like, what is the culture of a specific brand? What are they expecting? Is it a friendly, funny tone or not? If you're a lawyer, maybe making jokes, 2-for-1 divorce coupons, not a good idea. Make sure that there's certain types of sensitivity. I know that last year, or for the last couple of years, some of the ideas were, for example, for Mother's Day or Father's Day. For certain people, it's difficult. So there's an email sent out asking people like, hey, do you want us to opt you out from all the Mother Day emails? Which is great. But then it was a little bit used like it was so cool, instead of it being, heartfelt and thoughtful. It was just an email tactic. And then it kind of broke it a little bit. Make sure you remain sensitive, because at the end of the day, you have to think about your subscribers. Your opinion kind of matters, but at the end of the day, your subscribers' opinion matters and how happy they are. And the next two thing is the really important stuff. Is it sustainable? Is it something you guys can do over time? Or is it just like something that's going to work for a week? Like in deliverability, I know everybody has a lot of tactics to get into the inbox, and they don't work very long. The more tactics you come up with, the more you're teaching the spam filters what to look for, which is why email is so hard, apparently, for a lot of senders out there, because things that for them is normal to do, they should not have been doing. So is it sustainable, this idea? And then the last one is to personalize it. Can you actually personalize it? Maybe that should have been the first question. Can I use this trend? Yes or no? And again, make sure you are honest with yourself and the reality of things. So, email, it's not as simple as it seems. Please keep it in mind, and please ask people around questions. Anybody who has like a hashtag email geeks on their LinkedIn, they love talking about email, from strategy to CRM. You have no idea how precise and niche some jobs are when it comes to email. Feel free to ask them. They'd love to talk your ear off and explain to you how to do things better and succeed with email. So thank you, everybody. Thank you, Smaley, for having me. And of course, stay curious and keep adapting.
Thank you, Yanna.
We are probably be back. We are back.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. So how did it feel? New topic for you?
It's just the reverse. Usually when I do my job and I'm not talking to anybody, I can do all the tech stuff. But when I'm talking to people, usually the biggest issue is that we're going to talk to the employees that really, really want to clean their list. They want to do segmentation. They want to do things better. But business is saying no. So it's trying to reverse engineer and communicate with the people who are going to give permission to us to do our jobs. So usually these happens in meetings. But I don't think I've ever done a presentation letting people know we need to think about strategy more, because then you have to call me. Why? It doesn't make sense to me.
But actually, how lot you see this idea that let's say this is the routine hygiene to clean
Yes.
your list, look what's happening, opens, not opens, etc., etc., etc. And you say that, okay, we actually have to clean it. I'm sending all the time to this list. Already have sent like 3 years. I have the open rate, da 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 da. And then I will took back all the data and looked at, okay, my list is like 200,000 contacts. And actually, if I'm taking during 3 years, let's say only 20,000 opening and all the 180,000 are never opened, never clicked, never did anything. And me as a marketing director talking with my ESP, and the ESP says that, yeah, all right, let's skip all those 180,000, let's keep those 20,000. You will have perfect open rate and excellent conversion rate.
And deliverability is off the roof.
Yeah, and then comes the CEO and says, nope, because those are our clients. How we can ditch them? Because what gonna happen? We had 200,000 clients.
Maybe they will buy eventually.
Yeah, and now I have only like 20,000 clients. So this is not gonna be the issue. Never.
Yeah, we have heard different times.
Yeah.
This case.
Oh, this is what I hear every day. People hire me. They don't want to do anything. They just want me to just be there and magically fix it.
Yeah.
Just like, oh, we hired her, so now it's fixed, right? There's a lot of things. Here's another checklist. One, send your boss, put your boss or whoever is making these decisions in a subscriber list and check his engagement. At the beginning, trust me, he's going to open all the emails and he's going to forget. Oh, our own emails, not that interesting. No? Okay. So sometimes it proves frequency is too high. We're sending things that are not interesting, like a coupon every week. Why would I buy something this week? You're sending me the coupon next week again. Come on. The second thing is money. A lot of ESPs charge by volume, contact, whatever. If you're sending 40,000 emails, it doesn't cost the same as sending, 800,000 emails a month. Is the amount of money from the 0.1% that's going to come in 2 years less or more than that money you're putting in sending emails? Mm-hmm. 2, I know businesses, we all know businesses, right? All of our customers are businesses that if there was no email, they would make no money. And still, email is the department with the least budget, least resources. So the reason why your 180,000 customers may have left, unless you're selling mattresses and they bought one and they don't need one for another 10 years, maybe the strategy wasn't good and you lost them. A portion of it is like, okay, how many brands can I possibly love? I left country so many times. The pharmacies everywhere in the world are sending me emails with promotions. What am I going to do? I can't go. There's that part, right? The real human thing that just happens. But the big portion of that list, we don't say delete it. It's just, what would you send to them? So if I was, okay, 108,000 people, we don't want to lose them. Of course, we don't want to lose them. Money is easier to resell. What do we send to them? What do they want? Why did they leave? If you can't answer any of those questions, you don't have enough budget to do any of those crazy segmentations at time. Well, then maybe it is just safer to send maybe not 20, but to 100,000 people, and then spend the next 3 months trying to figure out a strategy that will allow those answers to come to light. Because yes, I want to clean lists. Lists apparently is the only thing I do because it is 99% of the problems. But if people had done the marketing and have been given the budget and the time to do certain things, instead of just sending an email every week to send it, that might not have happened at that big rate. Also, if you don't clean your list for 10 years, of course the number is big. You're supposed to be automatically cleaning it. It hurts less when 2-3 people disappear a month than when I come in and I say 10,000 out. Mm-hmm. Right? So we need to give time to email. And maybe that's why people copy trends, because then we don't have to think too much about it. They did the research. Let me try the same. But I don't know. I don't think I've had any customer who's had, oh, you know what? We don't have enough tasks for the email person that does 20 jobs, the design, the writing, the content, the support, the deliverability monitoring. I don't know why they're supposed to do deliverability monitoring. They have no monitoring tools. They have no help, no time, and it's not their job. There's a big difference between what you guys do or what I do and somebody else in email marketing does. It's not the same. It's a specialty. Okay, there's some knowledge we can use, some logic to learn and make sure things are okay. But at the end of the day, it's not their job. How many deliverability specialists do we know that work at a brand? Not that many. Most work at an ESP or as a consultant. And we're like, what? 100, 200 in the planet on the planet? Not that many. So yeah, the email person wears a lot of hats. They have to make all the decisions, and then we get pissed at them when things don't go well, right? It's always the marketer's fault. It's never the business or the ESP, right? It's your fault sometimes. If only.
What do you think about the changes that Gmail and Yahoo are doing? Does it make your life easier or harder?
My favorite sentence in the documentation is nothing has changed. I thought that was the funniest thing on the second document. It's like nothing has changed, period. I think there was paraphrasing. There's an extra word in there. And I thought that was funny. All I do is like Google said, but people never cared before because they said it before as well, right? They didn't change anything. But when the bounces start coming in on Monday, or Google Postmaster starts selling you bad reputation, people are going to panic. And just so people know, yellow, medium reputation on Google Postmaster means between 10 and 90% of your emails are going to the inbox, right? Is it 90 or 10? It's a really big gap between those two numbers. You want high reputation.
Okay. What are the next trends? What do you think? How far will it go? Do other providers...
People are going to use AI, forget what people want, and it's going to make it really, really hard to get back to understanding what people wanted to receive from them. AI should be used. It should be used, okay? Let's all be honest. But please really check it, because I think we started getting a little bit too trusting. So we kind of, oh yeah, this is kind of okay. Think about it, please. And I think the other trends is that people are going to start monitoring their deliverability finally. That would be great. Support tickets are going to come your way. You're going to have to tell everybody it's not us. We've been doing this for years. We're good. It's you.
But okay, but what do you think? How strict it will go, or this is the last thing what Google will do, or we will see the next year more strict rules and
way more. Oh, way more. Europa a couple of years ago said that all of the European Union, all the inbox service providers, like the tiny ones, are gonna have to start looking at authentication, which they do not. So that's gonna create a different kind of problem, but people are gonna have to authenticate even if they're locally based in Greece, right? DMARC is gonna ask for the RUA and the RUF. DMARC none does absolutely nothing. It's like having a blind bouncer at a club, like the doors open. Look at the reports, make him, look at the checklist. Then the other thing that's going to happen is the engagement base. But that started last May, and only certain industries really got hurt. If you guys go like on Reddit and you check between the end of May and the first week of June, the number of people using ESP saying, hey, my open rates with Google just dropped half. Engagement is important. In social media, we put something on LinkedIn. If no one likes it, LinkedIn, hides it. If I put something interesting, they're going to show it more, and then the next post more, and so on. Email is the same thing. We've just never been told that. So engagement is going to become important, and then there's going to be a bunch of problems, 100% from other inboxes trying to copy what Google's doing. So then you're going to have problems with maybe Hotmail and Microsoft, and you're not going to know why, and we're not going to know why either. Trust me, they're figuring it out as well. It's just that's how it happens. Google is quite a big amount. They have quite a lot of data and quite a lot of budgets for the spam filter, right? Email is important.
How much volume do you see goes to Gmail from your side? What do you see?
About 60 to 80% based on the industry. And I was very surprised that even like Asian and European countries.
Yeah, it's the same for us, what we see.
Yeah, but the interesting thing was that what Katarzyna told, she showed the European map, and there was those local,
biggest local providers in some countries.
In Czech, there was like 70% goes to there, and in is it Romania or something, where like 98% are using Yahoo.
Yeah.
So
warm up is hard for them.
Someone is still using Yahoo.
Yeah, but yeah, there was the slide with the differentiation with the different countries, Germany, etc., etc. It's actually interesting. And yeah, Erki also asked that what will be like how they will implement the same type or same logic of rules how now doing the Google and Yahoo.
I think the unfortunate news, if that law does pass, or I don't know if it's a law or I don't know how it works, and when it's the whole European Union, is that if these inboxes are required to always look at SPF, DKIM, and DMARC, they may not be handled that. They may not be able to handle that at all. So they're unfortunately going to have to sell, and I bet you that it's going to be Microsoft that's going to be buying them because that's what Microsoft does. And then you're going to have to be dealing with Microsoft. That's my 2 cents. So I don't know, but the biggest problem is that the amount of things they can possibly check, they can't. So what they do is that right now, and for a long time in the future as well, they rely on other providers. There's Proofpoint, the block list, and all those things, which gives them the possibility to have extra data, and they can decide what to do with that information. So yeah, they may be using Proofpoint or whatever, but there's still some specific thing because they see the type of volume they get, and they need to make sure it's tweaked for that. Like Germany doesn't like adult themed content in emails. They're very good at the image checking. Very, very interesting that GMX is able to really check images. With Google, we're like, oh no, don't put too many images in case Google doesn't know what you're talking about, right? GMX is like super good, very local thing. Is it going to affect you? In most cases, no. If you're sending emails to people who want them and there's no spam complaints, there's no issue. But keep in mind, talking about spam complaints, they don't send you feedback loop reports, some of them, eh? So you don't even know somebody's complaining. Yeah. Hence why you need to clean your list all the time. Perfectly automatically would be nice. But if not, once a month. Or else, in 3 years, I'm going to come in, I'm going to clean 100,000 contacts from your database.
Yeah. Okay. Do you know something about e-privacy? We have been hearing a lot
that it will
lately. Yeah. It will make things a little stricter.
More than the GDPR?
Yeah, more than GDPR. Do you know what effect this might have on this market or industry?
I think the effect is going to be the ones that are late to the game. And I don't think we need quite a lot. Even when GDPR came out, I mean, it's still out, right? Like, I'm a small company. I have data from customers. And it's not that difficult to make sure that everything is safe, good, and correct. When it comes to senders, especially they're using Smaily, a lot of that stuff is already taken care of for them. They authenticate, they make sure they don't download their lists all the time and maybe, it gets leaked or something like that. There shouldn't be too much of a problem. The issue is going to come to the businesses who are unable to get consent. And we know in certain countries, even the government sells lists. Like, we know that. So what do we do then? Do we care what the government says, what the spam filters say? I think a mix of both. But if you're doing things correctly already, I wouldn't worry too much about it.
You mentioned one thing that is good to know. All this B2B thing, what is like GDPR is not
covered in B2B.
Yeah, the B2B. Yeah. And then it's legal. Where's the problem?
Google doesn't care that it's legal.
Yeah.
Yeah, Google's 99% of all emails. What is it, like 300 billion emails a day? Isn't it like 99% like spam? The numbers are close around there, guys. Please Google them. They're close. Most of the emails they see are bad. So it's easier to compare us to bad senders than to compare us to good senders. There's just not enough of us. I mean, there is enough, but in terms of ratios. The other thing is, okay, so when I was 20, because I'm so old now, I was doing websites. I'm a developer, I'm an engineer. So I was in Montreal and I went to small restaurants, like, hey, websites, $500, $1,000, $2,000, let's go. That was kind of like cold emailing. I didn't know cold emailing existed. I wasn't working at Cake Mill back then. I didn't think email would be a thing. So it's kind of like cold emailing, right? You might find an email on a website or call them. There's a limit of how much I can do that. And now let me give you the reverse example. So if you've been on another webinar, you might have heard this. I had a cryptocurrency customer that popped up in Greece, and they purchased a list to start communicating with people. Their rules were this: we want males between the ages of 20 and 35, maybe 40, that live in Greece, because you need ID and all that jazz in order to open an account legally in Greece. They bought a list of like 30 million people. I don't know if you know how many citizens we are in Greece. Not that many, especially if you're taking people with a passport, not a social ID, which is written by hand, a passport. A lot of us have only the ID. Then males only, and between the ages of 20 to 45, guys, what did you put in the filters? Every Greek person on the planet? Come on. That's the thing that's Google is trying to stop. So yes, these companies can allow you to send 500, 200, 300 emails a day. But again, you don't have the resources. You don't have the data I have. You don't have the data, right? I don't know who I'm talking to, the people or you guys, but Smaley has. We have so much more data. And then again, we wish we had more. And you're going to go send 200 emails to people you don't know. That's what they're trying to stop. If you're doing cold emailing so well, like there's companies like senders.co, if you ask them to take care of it, all they do is look at the emails all day, 1, 2, block, stop. That's not what you do when you're using Woodpecker or something like that. You put 100, 200 emails, 1 million contacts, and you come back in 3 months and say, hey, why don't I have any money? That's the thing that they're trying to stop. If you don't generate spam complaints and low engagement, which is usually the telltale sign after list hygiene, they're not going to have a problem with you. Also, Google Suite doesn't work the same way as Gmail, right? There's a difference between those spam filters. And it says in the documentation, at Gmail is going to be more strict than at G Suite. That kind of insinuates if you're not annoying and insane, we might pretend we don't know you're doing cold emailing. But don't send 50 emails a day. No one sends 50 emails a day. If you sat down and paid somebody to do it, they would not send 50 emails a day. It means you're not putting attention. You have no care. And you're just copy pasting the message to 1 million people. Of course, it's a problem, right? Even in marketing.
All right.
Thank you, Yanna. Really insightful.
Thank you for having me.
And see you
Next,
the next
Yes, see you next time.
autumn.
Perfect.
You're here. You can be in our studio.
Yes, I know. I keep saying I have to come to Estonia. It's so far away. It's really hard, the plane stuff. I need to figure it out, but I will. Also, I'll come by car. See you guys.
You're now in UK. It's
now I'm in the UK.
Yeah, from London to Tallinn. What's the case?
I don't know.
Oh, we're driving back to Cyprus.
Oh, okay.
I need to go pay my taxes and stuff. You know, it's that time of the year.
Okay, thanks. See you.
Have a wonderful day, guys. Bye.